Previously, on Hunter Stays In, Hunter was completely and utterly alone until he found the manga Komi Can't Communicate. Taking in all the funny names and wacky quirks Komi's friends had to offer gave him some ideas on what makes a friend good or bad, and even how to make new ones. Wait, for real? He's using a manga to make friends? God, what a loser. No wonder he doesn't have any friends anymore. And he's only a third of the way done? Dude, like, go outside and touch grass for real. Oh, wait.
It's not enough. Few solid left, but it's not enough.
A year has passed. In the manga, not real life. And despite what I said about Komi's improvements, she's just as nervous as ever, because a new year means a new class full of wacky new classmates that she knows nothing about. The beginning of year 2 marks the end of the anime, which is honestly brutal because it ends right before one of the most interesting overarching plot lines in the series. Fix your priorities, OLM and Netflix. The people demand a season 3. There are literally dozens of us. As we progress into the new school year, info on some of the more obscure friends introduced becomes scarcer and scarcer. The Komi Wiki in particular is riddled with bare bones and sometimes non-existent character pages, which makes it a lot harder for someone like me,
a white devil,
to figure out the hidden meanings in each character name. So I pivoted to using the popular AI service ChatGPT. And before you click off the video or go to the comments and clown on me for using AI, I understand its downsides. It's bad at giving original ideas, factual information, and is incredibly detrimental to the environment. But one of the things it's mostly good at is language. It's a language learning model after all. And until I meet someone that speaks both Japanese and English that I also feel comfortable explaining this whole thing to, this is the next best thing. That's, free. When no info regarding the character's name was available on the Komi Wiki or Wikipedia, I fed ChatGPT the kanji of the character as well as a brief description. Some of its findings were pretty straightforward, while others seemed to be quite a stretch. I really tried my best to confirm its findings with other services when possible, but again,
white devil.
Of course, I'll put a disclaimer every single time that I use AI down the line, but that's enough ass covering. Let's get to Komi's new friends, starting with...
It's the beauty in her, but when the makeup occur, I don't see it, all I see is a blur.
This is a big one, so strap the fuck in. Manbagi's name is a reference to a specific style of Gairu culture called Yamamba, or Mamba. If you don't remember from my 100 Girlfriends video when I talked about the goat, Akko, or if you haven't seen it, in which case you really should, it's a great video. A Gairu is basically the Japanese equivalent of a valley girl. The term is derived from the Japanese pronunciation of gal and was originally designed to combat stereotypes of prim and proper Asian women. I also mentioned in the 100 Girlfriends video how some versions of Gairus can have artificial tans that trend a little too close to blackface. This particular subculture is called Kuro Gairu, or Black Gairu, of which Yamamba is a part of. So without further ado, here's what Manbagi looks like. Yeah, it's kind of wild. And before you hop in the comments calling me culturally insensitive, her new classmates, including Komi, seem to agree with me because no one wants to talk to her despite her best efforts. She's been, seriously deleted. And if it wasn't bad enough, all of Manbagi's fellow Gairu friends are in a different class, so she's got no fam in the zone. It's the woke, man. The isolation over the next few days causes Manbagi to mentally spiral into a deep depression. She bawls in the middle of class and sparkles all over Komi and Tadano when they subsequently take her to the nurse. At the nurse's office, Manbagi finally explains to someone just how alone she actually feels, of which Komi only has the deepest empathy. After all, she was basically in the same place 1 year ago. I mean, Komi hasn't improved that much, but it's enough for her to straight up ask Manbagi to be her first new friend of the year. Manbagi accepts, and they return to class where, ironically, she becomes a lot more attractive in the eyes of her fellow students because she no longer has any of the crazy makeup or hairstyle that they originally saw her in.
It's a nice little setup that shows just how much Komi has grown in a single year, but it's far from the conclusion to Manbagi and Komi's story.
As the year progresses and Monbuggy finds herself more and more involved with the antics of Komi and co, she starts to catch some feels for the boy with no outstanding characteristics. Uh-oh. Can't be a rom-com without a love triangle, am I right, boys? At one point, Tadano saves Monbuggy from unwanted attention by a bunch of boys at the beach by pretending to be her boyfriend, which gets her thinking. Oh man, I mean, that would be so crazy. Like, what if Tadano was like actually my boyfriend? Like, I mean, that would be crazy. I mean, of course I'm kidding. Unless, at a festival, Monbuggy and Tadano spend time interacting in a way that to a lot of Komi's friends kind of looks like flirting. She also realizes here that she deadass totally has a crush on Tadano, for real, type shit. Guys, I'm running out of steam here with this slang shit, please get me out. This festival interaction raises a lot of alarm bells with Komi's friends because, of course, the whole school knows that Komi and Tadano happen to have crushes on each other, even if they themselves, as well as Monbuggy, are blissfully unaware of this fact. And so, the love race begins. At the second year culture festival, which is a completely different festival from the one I just mentioned, I know it's confusing, Japan has a lot of festivals, Class 2-1 puts on a play in which Tadano and Komi play the two leads, at the insistence of the class. Notably, the climax involves a confession of love, and as soon as Monbuggy sees Komi say, "I like you," with her own words in front of a live studio audience, she finally puts all of the pieces together. The festival continues, and Monbuggy attempts to hold it together, but she really can't. I said it was the woe earlier, but it's the woe for real this time. Komi finds her bawling on a secluded staircase, and an outpouring of emotion ensues. They lay out all the cards. Komi's crush, Monbuggy's crush. Monbuggy claims that she'll back off for Komi's sake, but Komi refuses. Monbuggy reiterates that she doesn't want to ruin her friendship with Komi over a boy, but Komi won't let her quit. And so, they promise to be friends no matter who ends up with Tadano.
As I mentioned near the beginning of this video, Komi is the one that ultimately ends up with Tadano, because duh, she's the main character. But the climax of this love chase is quite brutal to Monbuggy.
It takes 300 chapters to get there, but the day of confessing their love finally arrives. On Valentine's Day, Monbuggy asks Tadano out, beating Komi to the punch. By this point, this confession doesn't actually surprise Tadano. He already sort of knew, since she low-key confessed her love in her sleep while the two were at a snowboarding trip 40 chapters earlier. But rather than actually act on that information, he waited for Monbuggy to ask him properly. Tadano reiterates that he's not special or anything and unsure if he can even return her feelings, but ultimately accepts her confession.
Wait, what? Komi's the... Huh?
I mean, it don't make no sense. She's in the title. I literally said last video that Komi gets together with Tadano. How could this happen? Well, Monbuggy is obviously thrilled until she remembers just how much Komi actually loves Tadano. So rather than just accepting the confession straight up, Monbuggy does what chess players would like to call a missed mate. Get it? She continues to question Tadano's answer. Will you regret dating me? Do you like anyone? But you're not sure? Tadano admits that there is someone, but he has no right to like her because she's so popular and he's nothing. Monbuggy pushes Tadano not to lie to himself and asks the question again. Will you regret dating me? After several moments of inner turmoil, Tadano eventually rejects Monbuggy's confession, apologizing profusely. Monbuggy insists that Tadano confess to Komi right away, so Tadano leaves the school slightly embarrassed. After nearly 200 chapters, the war for Tadano's heart is finally over. Tadano runs to Komi's place and finally does what the audience was waiting for over 300 chapters. Komi's reaction is priceless. Meanwhile, Monbuggy is consoled by fellow class members who happen to be eavesdropping on the entire confession. I mean, it's the hottest romance in school, I guess it makes sense. Through tears, Manbagi realizes just how many friends she's made in one short year. She's come a long way from the ghoul she used to look like.
Manbagi stays friends with Komi and Tadano through the 3rd year, which is honestly quite cool of her, and continues to be involved with a lot of their antics. It's also in Manbagi's 3rd year that she finds herself in a growing romantic relationship with soccer player and fellow classmate Wakai. I won't be talking about him much because Komi doesn't become friends with him, but his arc is interesting because at the beginning, he can't even talk to girls without passing out. God, he's so real for that. Overall, Manbagi is cheerful and energetic. She's not afraid to put herself out there or help a friend in need, even if it destroys her emotionally. I'm biased because her arc is one of the greatest in the series, but I think as a friend, she's A-tier material.
Hi, it's Editor Hunter here. It's really late. I haven't showered. You know, it's a day before the release of this video, and I just realized that I never asked you up front to subscribe, so this is me doing that. Videos like this take months of my time, which I don't really get paid for other than the pennies of ad revenue, so a follow, a like, subscribing, sharing the video with others, it really helps me a lot. It helps the video get on the algorithm and spreads it around to people that wouldn't otherwise click it. So if you don't mind, subscribe, comment, whatever you want to do, just engage with the video. And above all else, enjoy the rest of it because I think you'll really like it.
Dark is the midnight hour, her bright is the morning sun. Give a fuck about your complexion.
Remember when I said that Manbagi had Gairu friends? Well, they also become Komi's friends pretty quickly, despite being in different classes.
Shortly after Manbagi formally becomes Komi's friend, she invites Komi to bowl with the gals. At the alley, Komi gets hit with critical levels of gal when she meets Yuka Pollo, Mutan, and Gonzalez. These are, of course, nicknames, but let's break down their full names, if they have one. Yuka Pollo, or Shiroki Yuka, references Shiro, which means white. Shiro Gairu is another type of Gairu that has all the fittings of a normal Gairu, but without the excessive tanning. For the record, Akko from 100 Girlfriends is also a Shiro Gairu. The other two names are a little trickier to talk about, since while they're listed in the wiki, I can't actually seem to find a source for these names within the manga itself. Assuming they're accurate, Mutan's full name is Kuroita Musumi, which contains Kuro. She's a Kuro Gairu similar to Manbagi, but without the crazy makeup that comes with the Yamamba subculture. Just the blackface part. Gonzalez's full name is supposedly Isu Shiori. Unlike the other two names, neither I nor ChatGPT could find a hidden meaning. Gonzalez might be the only joke here, since her quirk is that her voice is insanely husky and macho like some Hispanic guy. All the Gairus are incredibly welcoming to Komi, even as she struggles to keep up with the onslaught of nicknames, slang, and cute onesies. They also confide in Komi when Manbagi uses the restroom that they're happy that she's Manbagi's friend based on her previous confidence issues. Komi has a great time, and by the end of their bowling session, all three of the Gairu girls have signed the Book of Friends.
These three mostly show up as a group and rarely hang out with Komi, at least compared to Manbagi. There is, however, one notable exception. Yuka Pollo ends up being a classmate of Komi's in the 3rd year and has a couple of standout interactions that we'll talk about later. All of them seem incredibly attentive and high-spirited, so I have no problem giving them all high Bs. Yuka Pollo has to be the highest of the three though, because I know the most about her.
I tell a bitch, don't sweat me.
Ase sweats a lot. That's it, that's her whole quirk. Her name quite literally means sweat droplets. Her sweatiness seems to define everything about her, from wearing a vest to hide her sweat stains, which only makes her sweat even more, to avoiding physical contact with anyone for fear of getting sweat on them. Any accidental contact with others sends Ase into a frenzy, wildly spraying deodorant to make sure she doesn't stink. She apologizes profusely when she bumps into Komi in the bathroom, but her and Manbagi assure Ase that everybody sweats. While that's essentially true, I'll be honest, that girl is literally soaked. I would definitely seek medical attention if this happened 24/7 every day of the year, but Ase opts to spray entire cans of deodorant directly into her face instead. Nevertheless, that one little bathroom interaction allows for Komi and Ase to formally become friends.
Ase reappears in the manga now and again. She becomes part of the love talk with Sasaki and Kato after revealing that she has a crush on another student we'll talk about down the line. She also is in chapters involving characters outside the main core, such as when they all go snowboarding and she reveals that she's an expert at winter sports, mainly because they don't make her sweat as much. Ase seems a little down on herself in the beginning, which could get annoying in real life if she didn't improve by the end of the manga, which she does. So to be honest, the only problem I have with her is the amount of fucking sweat she produces. The amount of water she needs to counteract dehydration must be astronomical. I think a low B is fine. She can be a winter-only friend.
Never attached to none, so if you took some likings around me, I might reject the love.
You ever meet a kid in school that moves every year to a different part of the country or even a different part of the globe? Usually it's because their parents are in the military, but sometimes they just have jobs that require a lot of relocation. This can be a struggle for the child who constantly has to leave behind the friends they just made. At some point you might wonder, what's the point of making friends at all? Rei is one of those kids.
Komi first meets 8-year-old Rei when she's suddenly dropped off by her parents to stay with Komi's family for an entire week. It's extremely clear from the outset that Rei is emotionally cold. She rebukes any and all attempts at social activities. All her dialogue is formal and devoid of emotion. Everything about her screams childhood depression. Rei's name is a hard one to parse a hidden meaning from. ChatGPT found that Natsukido literally means summer tree door, while Rei literally means zero or null. In a more poetic sense, it could mean someone who should be in the most vibrant season of life, aka a child, but instead is gated off and feels like nothing. Admittedly, it's a bit of a stretch. Komi takes this depressed child as a challenge. She is determined to be friends with Rei, but all of her efforts on the first day fall flat. On the second day, Komi makes a small breakthrough by playing with each other's plushies. On the third day, Najimi and Tadano barge through Komi's front door. Okay, Najimi does most of the barging. And they all take a trip to Wickdonald's, where they buy 4 happiness boxes in order to get Pokemon toys. I'm so sorry. I keep messing up these names. They sound so close to like actual things. I don't know why the author did that. Najimi's lack of personal boundaries does result in Rei actually having a little bit of fun, though she won't admit it. Discovering there's nothing in the fridge for dinner that night, Komi and Rei are forced to go shopping for ingredients. They seem to be having fun together until Rei remembers how all her past friendships have gone and decides to run away. A bit dramatic, but I guess she's a kid. Eventually, Najimi, with the help of literally every teen in Japan, catches Rei and returns her to Komi's house. It's here that Rei reveals her deep-seated trauma of being unable to make meaningful connections with the people she's met. But Komi's reply, "Do you hate the people you've met?" allows Rei to see everything in a new light. Just because the time Rei had with her friends was short doesn't mean it wasn't meaningful. The remaining few days are far less emotionally intense. Rei follows Komi's enigmatic brother around. Her and Komi go to a park where they meet up with Onemine and her younger siblings, who are still fucking misnamed, goddammit, and the two finally take a bath together after Rei rejected the offer every night beforehand. During the final night, Komi reveals her goal to Rei of making 100 friends and challenges her to see who can do it first. Rei accepts. The next day, Rei's mom returns and the family leaves Japan to move to America. It doesn't take long for Rei's conversations with Komi to pay off. In fact, on her first day at the new school, she makes a new friend. Sort of. It might take a while because of the whole language barrier thing.
Rei's arc is short but sweet. While she does reappear in later chapters, they also involve a future friend of Komi's that I haven't talked about yet, so we'll just have to hold for a bit. While she does pivot hard to becoming a social butterfly after befriending Komi, I think that on a fundamental level, it would be really hard for me to connect with her. She's literally 8. What do we talk about? Stuffed animals? Sokemon? I admire the effort, but she's really not the type of friend I'm looking for at the moment. So for that reason, I have to give her a C. Fuck, this tier list makes me look like an asshole.
And we hate po-po, wanna kill us dead in the street for sure.
The manga describes Asagi as fastidious, and while it's a good start, it's honestly an understatement with regards to her cleanliness. Her name contains 2 different kanji that mean clean or pure, after all. No, Asagi is a straight-up germaphobe. She never uses utensils or pillows beyond her own. Shaking hands forces her to wash them almost immediately. And if someone touches her clothes, she throws them away. Isagi's obsession with cleanliness isn't restricted to physical objects either. Her introduction shows her running for student council president to reform the lax school code under the slogan, "Keep it clean, Eton High." Asagi is determined to run a clean and fair campaign. She initially rejects all help from fellow students, including Komi, for fear of winning because of their popularity instead of Asagi's values as a president. I don't need your filthy sympathy vote. If it wasn't obvious, Asagi has a little bit of trouble keeping friends, at least until Komi takes a swing. It takes some convincing, but Asagi eventually relents and lets the Komi squad help with her campaign, becoming friends in the process. During this, Asagi also reconciles with her estranged friend Ase after she called her dirty for sweating so much and touching her. After winning the election, Asagi wastes no time in purifying the school. During the second year culture festival, Asagi creates the Flirt Bureau of Investigation, or the FBI for short. It's basically her and a bunch of goons making sure no one's kissing or holding each other in the halls by beating them to death with a rubber hammer. These extreme measures lead to an agency created to counteract Asagi's strict values. The Cut 'em Some Slack Intelligence Agency, or the CIA for short. We'll come back to the leader of that agency a few friends from now.
It's pretty hard to find anything appealing about Asagi's personality. She does get a little more used to filth as time goes on, but her existence in the manga largely becomes a gag to cut to whenever romance is involved. She honestly reminds me a lot of Chio, but maybe she's a little better because she's not 12. Sorry, I promised I wouldn't get into that again. And here I am, talking about how one of the main characters in 100 Girlfriends is 12. Asagi is a D-tier friend. Just a bit too much of a hard ass for my taste.
Way too hot to simmer down. Might as well overheat.
Is it getting hotter in here? Is it just me?
Oh, it's just Netsuno. She's all about cranking up the heat. Her name can be broken up into the words Netsu no Chika, literally meaning underground heat, and could be seen metaphorically as someone hot-blooded or intensely passionate. She always has that fire in her eyes. And hair? Is she good? Do we need to call the firefighters? Netsuno is always getting competitive with everyone around her, but unlike Yadano, she actually wins. The most interesting thing about Netsuno is this quirk where she gives people a temperature based on their enthusiasm. I should also point out that her rating system basically makes no sense. Netsuno's first appearance comes during the first year sports festival, where she immediately clocks Komi as a nippy 16.9 degrees. That's in Celsius, I'm pretty sure. Komi eventually wins Netsuno over by showing heart. Despite taking a tumble in a crucial race, Komi gets up and keeps running. Netsuno rates it 120 degrees. In the second year sports festival, they face a rematch where Netsuno claims she's gonna hit 420 degrees. Truly blazing hot. The race is even closer than last time, but Netsuno still wins. She gives Komi an astounding 1600 degrees and offers to race her anytime. And so, a friendship is forged so hot it could literally melt iron.
Netsuno appears as a running partner in later chapters, but largely disappears from the manga after graduating, being a year older than Komi and all. Supposedly, however, she runs the 60 kilometers back and forth to her university every day. That is over a whole ass marathon every day. As I said with Yadano, I'm really not a fan of making everything competitive, but at least with Netsuno, it would be maybe a little fun. If Yadano is a D, Netsuno is a C. To be honest, I know she'd rate me ice cold, and I'm just not mentally prepared for it.
20 is a man now.
The Takarazuka Revue are a musical theater troupe based a little ways away from Osaka in, you guessed it, Takarazuka. Founded in 1913 as a way to boost tourism in the city, the troupe currently performs for 2 million people each year, and tickets are notoriously expensive. One of the biggest reasons for their popularity is their all-women cast, a flipping of older practices banning women from the stage altogether.
But why am I telling you this? What? I guess if you can't figure it out, then I think I did my job badly, huh?
Takarazuka, like her namesake implies, is a woman who exclusively plays men while on the stage. If you remember, Komi's class puts on a play for their second year culture festival, which just so happens to be her introduction. Takarazuka, having the most theater experience, is quickly cast as the leading male role and knocks it out of the park almost immediately. Komi, however, is struggling with her performance. Sensing that the aggressively chaotic script written by none other than Najimi is a bit outside Komi's league, Takarazuka writes a second play for the class to alternate between. This is the play that Monbagi sees when she realizes Komi's true feelings. But after Komi disappears, that second play is in jeopardy. Tadano asks Takarazuka if she'd be willing to step in for Komi's role, but Takarazuka claims it would just be too unconvincing. Thankfully, the play is saved when she shows up. This girl again? It's a little unclear to me why they did a gender swap where this girl is in Tadano's role now and Tadano isn't there at all anymore, but I guess it made it more interesting. I don't know. This second performance draws a lot of attention from the crowd, even though they seem to originally be there for Komi. Some even confused the girl for Tadano in a wig, which honestly, I definitely can see the resemblance, but it's really just, I can't get over how weird it is to see this random girl keep popping up in culture festivals only and then disappearing. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's almost like I'm missing something. After the culture festival, Takarazuka asks Monbagi directly about her crush on Tadano, something very few characters have done up until this point. Monbagi admits it almost immediately, to which Takarazuka apologizes over and over for adding the confession scene into her play. The following conversation is a very touching moment, revealing Takarazuka's strengths as a friend. She ends the conversation by telling Monbagi, "You might just win this." Ooh, about that.
Takarazuka's quirk is not the first nor the last in this manga to be based on a reversal of gender expectations, though it is probably the most inconsequential to her personality. After all, she only presents as masculine in her wardrobe and in the plays she's in. Every other time, she seems perfectly content with being a woman. I'm putting her at the top of B tier for being a real friend to both Komi and Monbagi when they needed it.
Let me put the head in.
Toro's intro comes in the midst of the underground battle for Tadano's heart. Neither Komi nor Monbagi have any experience at expressing feelings of romance, but just then, Sonoda arrives carrying Toro on his back all the way from the first floor. He is obviously love-struck. That's not the end of it though. Rather than, Toro walking from the entrance to her seat like a normal person, she somehow convinces another guy to carry her to her seat, citing low blood pressure. She's really great at charming high schoolers, and Komi and Monbagi both notice this. Using the kanji given, Toro means to express one's feelings or confess, but Toro is also a frequently used onomatopoeia, meaning melty or thick and flowing. It's often used for more seductive moments in manga. Add in mitsu, which means honey or nectar, and you got a name oozing with seduction. During their next lunch break, Monbagi and Komi corner Toro about how to win over a boy's heart, to which she agrees to help. What follows is a classic example of taking advice and using it to the extreme. Toro gives classic seduction techniques like mimicking your target, making eye contact, and pretending to fall asleep. The two take all of her tips to the extreme, which only confuses Tadano. Afterwards, Toro admits that she isn't really a good teacher and mostly just wanted to talk because she doesn't have any girl friends. You can probably guess what happens after that.
Somehow I forgot to film the end of this section when filming literally everything else, so you get Editor Hunter for this one. Yay! This is neither the first nor the last time that I'll say it in this video, but Toro doesn't really have any major appearances outside of her introduction. As such, we have to rate based on what we have, and what we have is a 17-year-old who uses her looks and charm to avoid doing pretty much anything. I've largely ignored the fact that I would be 7 to 9 years older than all of these high schoolers when thinking about them as potential friends, but I feel like in this particular instance, her seductive nature makes the age gap way more relevant. I'm not worried about what I would do because, to be clear, I have no interest. I'm just worried about what others might see or think if they saw the two of us together. That, and she is hella lazy. I don't want to be around more lazy people. I'm already around one 24/7, and let me tell you, he sucks. D tier.
I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk, I hate the way that you dress.
Anchi's name can be read as a pun on Anchi Aru Sa, which loosely translates to there's some hate or there's a little hater in her. Ironically, her family name Anchi is spelled with the kanji for both peaceful and wisdom, which is the polar opposite of her incredibly antagonistic personality. Or is it? Nah, not really.
I remember you was conflicted.
The kanji used for Tsutsura Fuji can alternatively be read as kato, which means conflicted. This is a dead-on definition of her character. She can't decide on a single thing. Or can she? I don't know, I'll have to think about it more.
Shh, be quiet.
Ko goe means whisper, low voice, or silence. Another pretty straightforward one. Or is it? Nah, the joke doesn't make sense here. Ko Goen doesn't have a communication disorder like Komi. Rather, her voice is literally so quiet that they can barely hear her, even when she pulls out a megaphone. This singles meetup is a very quirky combo of characters that only Najimi could pull together into one room. They bring in the aforementioned trio, Komi, and that girl everyone thought was Tadano for some reason. I guess they were onto something because she finally reveals her name as Tadano Hitomi. This reveal is particularly odd because Hito's younger sister, who I haven't been talking about because it's not relevant to this video about Komi's friends, is also named Hitomi. I highly doubt the Tadano family would use the same name twice, but based on the other names we've seen so far, it's certainly possible that this girl is also Hito's sister. But if that was true, it'd be really weird for Hito to never mention this other sister despite supposedly being the same age. I gotta look more into this later. I'm getting distracted again. Najimi gets a phone call and immediately bails on the meetup after giving introductions, leaving the group in dead silence and ready to leave. But they power through with the help of an icebreaker dice that Najimi left behind. The entire group is vibing with each other, save for one. Anchi tries at every turn to shit on the people's answers while refusing to participate when it's her turn. It's a real mood killer. But they persist, resulting in even more insults from Anchi. Komi reveals her desire to be friends with everyone in the room, which only angers Anchi even more, especially when the rest of the group agrees. This angry motherfucker refuses to give in, so the rest of the group switches tactics. They compliment Anchi's banter as charming and cute, which immediately short-circuits Anchi's brain. At this point, she's out of insults, and by the time Najimi returns, 3 of the 4 girls have signed their names into Komi's friend book. Not Hitomi though, which is odd. Maybe it's because Komi doesn't want to put multiple members of one family in the book, but she already put the Onemine siblings in there, so maybe the author just forgot?
This entire chapter, and to a larger extent, trio of characters all revolve around Anchi's aggressive nature. Tsutsura Fuji and Kogoen are just there to be gag characters. That's fine for a random side character in a manga like Komi Can't Communicate, but I do wish that the friends had a little bit more character depth to them. And of course,
say the line, Bart!
None of these characters have a significant presence outside of their introduction. Yay! Komi's patience with Anchi's hater energy is far greater than mine. I think she's a low D. Who wants to be insulted every single time you talk to someone? Tsutsura Fuji gets a high C for actually being friendly. Or is she? Man, I'm gonna have to think about that one, actually. Kogoin gets a low B for being the most serene and chill of the three, although I think I would have a hard time having a conversation with her outside of a totally silent room because I already have a little trouble hearing people when they're talking at a normal volume. Maybe I should get my hearing tested.
You know I got language barriers. It's no accent you can sell me.
Remember when I said Ray sort of made a friend in America on her first day? Well, it's time to talk about her. There's no hidden meaning in Mila Burgundy that I could find online or with ChatGPT that wasn't a total stretch in my opinion. It might just be a reference to her red hair. After their rocky first interaction, Ray ends up sitting next to Mila in class. Not really knowing anyone else in the school, Ray begins to follow Mila around school like a lost puppy, despite the safety concerns of her fellow classmates. Apparently, Mila has been known to bite people in the past. In fact, everyone calls her Tyranno because she bites like a T-Rex, I guess? Either way, Mila is uncomfortable and eventually threatens to bite Ray, which has no effect because of the language barrier. When Ray asks Mila how to send a letter to Japan, she helps her out with the expectation that Ray will finally leave her alone. But she doesn't, and the two eventually become friends over the next few months.
Yeah, that's nice and all, but how does she become Komi's friend?
Well, Komi's second-year school trip is to none other than the Big Apple, where Ray and Mila happen to live. Fucking private schools, man. How can they afford to fly everyone to fucking New York? This is crazy. Komi's class does a lot of things over the week, like eating at Shark Shock, watching the Broadway musical Aladdin, and visiting the Met. Wait, actually that is the Met. I don't know why I paused there. But one of the days, Komi takes Monbuggy to meet with Ray and Mila in Central Park. Komi and Ray haven't seen each other in 3 or 4 months at this point, but they immediately bring up the friendship contest. To be honest, it's not even a contest anymore, man. Ray already has 68. She may have started out ahead with 40 friends compared to Komi's 33, but the rate of friendships gained within the time frame doesn't lie. Not to mention that based on the rules Ray set out about what counts as a friend, I don't think Komi even has 20. She's definitely not, quote, immediately on the same wavelength with a decent chunk of the people in her notebook.
How can you be on the same wavelength with, like, a cat? You can't even communicate with them, right, Sandy? No, I can't give you treats right now, baby. I'm filming.
Komi and Ray exchange stories about their friends, which very quickly devolves into a contest that is both wholesome and embarrassing. After some badminton in the park, they separate once again, but not before Mila writes her name in Komi's friend book.
Other than this chapter, Mila doesn't really appear in any.
Psych, you thought! About 100 chapters later, deep into Komi's 3rd year of high school, Mila randomly appears at Komi's house one day, hungry and sleepy. Komi uses every inch of her English-speaking skills to figure out how and why Mila randomly showed up. It takes a while due to Mila's aggressive and confusing nature, but she eventually reveals that Ray took her to visit Japan only for Mila to be bummed out at her inability to communicate with any of Ray's Japanese friends. So Mila decided that Ray would be better off without her and ran away to Komi instead. Komi only really gets a little of what she says, but Mila's outpouring of emotion gets the idea across. The next day, Ray arrives and apologizes for, she doesn't really know, but they all make up and all play stuffed animals together. Another happy ending.
Mila is the most teenage-looking and acting 9-year-old I've ever seen. She has no control over her emotions and turns to violent outbursts when they bubble up. She's also the same height as Komi, which is incredibly confusing. Her tsundere tendencies, if she even has the dere part, are very hard to engage with, and I really don't think I'd vibe with her even if I got past the biting stage. I can only hope that she grows out of it as an adult, but at the age presented, Mila has to go in the bottom of D.
Now I run a game, got the whole world talking King Conte.
When Asagi is asked what her reasons are for wanting to become student council president, she recalls her entrance ceremony where everyone stayed standing because the principal forgot to tell people to sit. After a bit, Asagi noticed a student struggling to stand for as long as they were, but right as he was about to collapse, student council president at the time, Icho Setoka, strutted onto the stage, interrupted the principal, and told everyone to take a seat. Isagi thought it was so cool and dignified. However, when Najimi takes her and a small group to actually meet Icho, they find the complete opposite. Classic Komi. When I gave Icho's name and kanji to ChatGPT, it came up with the following breakdown. Setoka is a real hybrid citrus fruit in Japan that's known for being sweet, fragrant, soft, and tasting like a dessert. A beautiful outer appearance, but very soft and indulgent inside. The kanji for Icho can be combined to mean a refined tone, which in reality is the complete opposite of her character. Icho also phonetically means ginkgo tree, which is a resilient fruit tree that drops awful smelling fruits. A pretty tree on the outside, but weird and disruptive underneath.
This breakdown is decent, but I neglected to mention that I already had the hidden meaning for Icho's name, and ChatGPT completely missed it. This really put into question why I was using the service in the first place.
If you put Icho's name in the English order of given name, family name, it sounds like Seitokai Cho, which means student council president. Now, I'm not saying that the ChatGPT breakdown isn't correct, but it's like missing the forest for the trees. What the fuck are we doing here? Interestingly, when I informed ChatGPT about this missed pun, it just congratulated me.
Yes! You absolutely nailed a hidden pun that's very likely intentional, and it's a deliciously cheeky one.
Well, I can't take all the credit, cause some dude on Wikipedia gave me that info, but I guess thanks?
You know, I see why people like using AI so much. It's like having a friend that never says anything negative about you. Surely this won't rapidly advance our epidemic of loneliness with more and more people using it for therapy and personal advice rather than genuine human connection, right?
Regardless of what Icho's name actually means, she is far from the prim and proper lady Asagi thought she was. The second years arrive at the student council office to find them interrupting the student council's spicy hot pot contest. As one does. The cushions are moist with sweat, the tea is long past expired, and the glasses are overdue for cleaning. It's Asagi's worst nightmare. It only gets worse, however, when Icho reveals that Asagi's memory of her is kind of a joke. Icho just wanted to sit down like everyone else and didn't even notice the sick kid. Other students were laughing at her because she was acting so high and mighty despite flunking her second year. Asagi has no words. Never meet your idols, I guess. After Asagi becomes president, Icho becomes a chaotic presence that creates far more conflict than she solves. She takes bets at the second-year sports festival, forms the aforementioned CIA to combat Asagi's FBI, and forcibly kicks off the dance party that Asagi was trying to suppress at the end of the second-year culture festival before jumping out of the window. I gotta admit, that last part is kinda cool. During Komi's school trip to the concrete jungle where dreams are made of, Icho somehow manages to be their tour guide despite not knowing shit about the city and really just wanting to avoid studying for exams. She is a terrible tour guide. Rather than, taking people places and telling people about the city, she orders almost everyone in Komi's class to get her things, such as pancakes, an outfit, a burger, and a Statue of Liberty lighter. When the class begs her to actually be a tour guide, Icho simply demands that they explore on their own. And to top it all off, she quote-unquote forgets to reserve her own room at the hotel and chooses to sleep in the same bed as Komi. For my money, she probably planned this from the beginning to save money, since I don't know if the school is paying for her to be a tour guide. Either way, she's a freeloader through and through. You would think that Icho would largely disappear from the school after graduating, but no. Instead, she becomes proxy chairman on account of her grandfather's name being on the school. Her first and arguably only cool act is to pit every student against each other in a battle royale using enough guns. It's enough, or it's not enough. Icho is also responsible for one of the final major arcs of the series, involving a hardcore study camp against another prestigious high school. The reason? Icho got really plastered one night and signed a contract where the losing school has to close entirely. Okay, apparently that last part isn't actually true, but it's good drama, right?
Sure, all that's interesting, but holy shit, get to the point. How do they become friends? Chill out. It's my right to yap on this damn channel if I want to, and your right to click off. Do it. Click off. Don't watch this video.
During the New York City trip, Icho offers a one-time only Setoka Icho will do anything I say ticket for beating her at Blind Man's Bluff. It's a hotly contested item, but Komi wins by saying literally nothing. Rather than using it to remove Icho from her bed during the trip, which is something she strongly considers, she saves it to force Icho to write her name in Komi's friend book during her graduation. A decision she quickly regrets when Icho immediately goes full Yamai and begs to know what color Komi's panties are. Fucking chill.
Icho is another person I don't think I could be friends with. While she does come up with some fun ideas on occasion, most of what she does only serves her. Hi, Editor Hunter here from like a month after the last time I showed up. I know it's confusing, especially because that guy's gonna pop up again later down the line and not have any idea about this Editor Hunter, but that's not important. What's important is that I really need to make a last minute change. Originally, I had Icho at the very bottom of D, just shy of F tier. The reason was I kind of wanted Yamai to remain in her own tier at the very bottom because I thought she just sucked so much. But after reviewing Icho's deplorable actions, for the safety of the public, I have no choice but to imprison Icho in F tier, locking the door and throwing away the key. Pray you never meet someone this self-centered and miserable during your time on this earth.
I deserve it all because it's mine. Tell me why you think you deserve the greatest of all time, motherfucker.
I have a confession. Up until this point, every single character I've talked about in this video has simply been a supporting character. Yes, even Komi, whose name is in the title, is literally a nobody compared to the true main character, Naruse.
This incredibly suave-looking protagonist debuts during Komi's first year, and man does he make an impression out the gate. He only listens to Western music like Justice Bieber, sits in the very back corner of the class where stereotypically main characters are sat, and is always receiving non-stop praise. Or so he thinks. I know, crazy, it's never happened before in this manga. Thanks to loanwords, narcissist translates pretty easily into Narushisuto in Japanese. Add a sei in there and you have the entirety of Naruse's name. And yeah, he's a narcissist. His character is quite annoying, but thankfully the author realized this and added another character at the exact same time to make fun of him.
Back to reality, we pour, yeah, bitch. Yeah, bitch.
Kometani appears to be an obvious pun on the English word commentary, but his given name can also mean faithful interpretation, explanation, or exposition. As you can guess, he's the commentary guy. Anytime something happens in the manga that might need additional context, you usually see him in the corner with the relevant info. This is a very common tool in the world of manga, but rarely does the commentary or context come from an in-universe character. But his quirk doesn't stop there. In fact, his way of speaking always looks like a commentary blurb, even when he's actually speaking out loud to others. His character design pretty much always consists of pitch black oval eyes and a non-existent mouth, but it should be noted that at one point, Monbagi makes him laugh enough to actually make him look like a real person. At least for a moment. He's honestly really great and really funny, but I got distracted. We have to get back to our supposed main character. As I alluded to earlier, Kometani is the perfect counter to Naruse in that he basically reality checks everything Naruse does. While Naruse thinks he's the most popular kid in school, in reality, Naruse has no friends at all except for maybe Kometani. Naruse believes that only Komi is worthy of his attention, but since she's never actually spoken to him, he's basically alone. He somehow nails the communication disorder explanation for why they've never spoken to each other before, only to immediately discard it in favor of something way more self-centered. Obviously, Komi's just waiting for me to make the first move. So he tries to say hi, but is accidentally bumped in the process. He tries again, but coincidentally gets hit again. Every attempt to communicate with Komi finds him face to face with all of her current friends for some reason. weird. It's like they're all trying to protect Komi from this insane egomaniac or something. We all know that Komi only has room for one insane person in her friend book. In Naruse's mind, however, they're all just jealous. Despite the rabid attempts from Komi's friends to keep Naruse away from Komi, she finally interacts with Naruse after he accidentally drops his handkerchief on the way to the bathroom. No words are exchanged, but Naruse wholeheartedly believes that Komi is hitting on him. So the next day, he asks for her number in his usual narcissistic way of holding out his phone and voguing or whatever without saying a single word. Komi has no idea what to do in this moment, so she just touches his phone and awkwardly walks away, forcing Naruse to pivot and pretend that he was asking for Tadano's number the entire time. Whatever you want to tell yourself, man.
You may be wondering, if all of this happened in year 1, then why am I talking about it now in the middle of year 2? Shouldn't both of them have signed Komi's friend book by now?
Well, for some reason, neither of them signed the friend book until the end of year 2. Najimi points out during one of Komi's friend list check-ins that they're not listed, to which a text box simply says, "Missed her moment to ask them." Maybe the author forgot? Who's to say? Interestingly enough, Naruse actually does have his moments where he's not a total jerk-off. Aside from Komi and Tadano, one of the more highlighted relationships comes from Naruse and Ase. That's right, Naruse likes it a bit sweaty. No, fuck, I can't make that joke. This relationship starts out in year 2 and continues to build and build, culminating in a bona fide romance complete with kissing by the end of year 3. It's fascinating seeing Naruse actually look vulnerable when Ase expresses her romantic feelings. Of course, Ase's best friend Asagi strongly disapproves of Naruse and at one point beats him to a pulp with a hammer. Toy hammer, to be clear, even though the drawings make it seem very, very real. When grilled at an emergency girls convo with the usual suspects, Ase reveals that Naruse gives her confidence and that's why she likes him. Hey, whatever makes you happy, I guess.
Overall, I'm not a fan of Naruse. He's got some good aspects that he shows off here and there, particularly when he's dating Ase, and he makes a great comedic duo with Kometani, but I think his narcissistic nature is a major turnoff for a real-life friend. D tier. Oh, would you look at that? It's time for Editor Hunter again. Yay! It's like I'm commentating now because Hunter forgot to fucking film again. Wow, isn't this Hunter guy fucking stupid? Am I right, guys? Who's with me? Kometani gets a high B. Like Tadano, he's borderline omniscient, but unlike Tadano, he doesn't have much of a personality of his own. Apparently, he's really good at Swamp Bros, which is kind of cool, and he's got a winning smile, which on the right day could push him into A tier. Not today, though. As I alluded to earlier, Naruse and Kometani's inclusion into Komi's friend book happens at the very end of year 2. So, if we're almost done with the year, then how the hell is Komi gonna make 56 friends in just under a year? Well, in the same chapter, we find out through Najimi that Komi's been slacking a little. While she has been hanging out with her classmates all year and even gotten most of their phone numbers, Komi has not asked them to write their names in her friend book. At least until now. In one chapter, Komi goes from 42 friends to a whopping 66. And since most of them are incredibly gimmicky gag characters with little to no impact on the story, and we are well over an hour into the video at this point, it's time to go rapid fire.
Take that mask off, I wanna see what's under them achievements.
Gekidan Shiki is the name of one of the largest theater companies in Japan. Naturally, Gekidan is just as theatrical. She always has a lion headpiece on, even outside of plays, and she sings a musical number to try and get Komi's contact info.
Gekidan seems fun, but would ultimately probably be exhausting to be around. C tier.
Sent a picture of her titties blowing up my text.
Ohai's name is a pun on Oppai Suki, meaning likes breasts. She's a boob enthusiast. That's it. That's her whole personality. She can't even ask for Komi's contact info. She just pivots to asking what shape her boobs are instead.
C tier. She's way too much of a gooner.
I am a sinner. who's probably gonna sin again.
Totoi means holy or sacred. You would think that between this and his Buddha-like face that he was actually holy, but surprise, surprise, he's as dirty as they come. He often initiates conversations about what type of women guys like, but in his mind, all types are his type. He also initiates a ranking of everyone's dick size, which is insane in a manga like this.
This dude literally started a dick measuring contest in the manga. I'm giving him a D tier.
Drop the number, we chirped the whole summer and well.
If you rearrange Fukusuki's name, you get the phrase Natsu Fukusuki, which means like summer uniforms. He's originally introduced as a judge of everyone's summer uniforms in the second year, returning with a vengeance in the third year. Fukusuki also eventually forms the Dirty Magazine Hunting Club with Ohai and Totoi, which in turn often ropes Tadano into their bullshit. These three have to be the most perverted out of the entire manga. Except, of course, for Yamai.
Mid to high C. Unlike the other two perverts, he actually seems to have a little restraint.
See, my name is Lucy, I'm your dog.
Inu and Ken are both pronunciations for the kanji meaning dog, which is exactly what he's styled like. Inui's main bit is that he doesn't get along with
I don't want you monkey mouth motherfucker sitting in my throne again.
Saru Tahiko is a Shinto god known for having a monkey-like face. Saru also means monkey, which is what Saru Tahiko happens to be styled like. Together, these two are a literal version of the Japanese idiom ken-en no naka, which means like dogs and monkeys. They're people who constantly bicker and never get along, at least until the third year when they confess their love for each other. I guess dogs and monkeys really can get along.
Both of them get C's, but I'm rating Saru Tahiko a little bit higher because I'm just not a dog person.
My mama called. Hello? What you doing? Kicking it.
Bodo means one's revered mother, a very formal way to refer to someone else's mother in Japanese. Bodo is always seen acting like a mother, giving people healthy things to eat or offering to make tea. Ironically, he hates it when anyone actually calls him a mom.
B tier. He seems like a chill and caring friend.
Life ain't shit but a fat vagina.
Fuwa Masuko means fluffy mascot, which is also what she kind of looks like. She also seems very fluffy in personality, if that makes any sense.
B tier. Even if it's not her main quirk, she also seems pretty chill and caring.
I believe you don't like women. It's real competition. You might pop ass with them.
The first kanji in Fushima, fu, means rot and decay. Among fans of yaoi, which is a genre of manga involving men loving men, fu is often shorthand for fujoshi, which means rotten girl. The second kanji, shima, means island. Together, it implies that Fushima is a rotten island full of gay guys. Oh no. Fuck, that must be so horrible. Oh god, I can't imagine being on that island. It's gotta suck so bad. Oh, you know, if she doesn't want to do it, I guess I could tank it for her. Like, if you just give me the address, like, I could probably... Saku is a pretty common name for women in Japan, and we don't have an actual kanji here, but one of the potential kanji it could be means to create, which lines up with her desire to create yaoi. Fushima, naturally, is the inverse of Lily, and actually gets into spats with her at the manga club on occasion. It's only when another character that we'll talk about next episode encourages them to talk about each other's stories, but gender swapped, that they finally learn to respect each other.
C tier for creation, corruption, big hard cocks. I'm sorry to my family members. I know you watch these.
The love and hate is definite without a cure.
Tsunde's name contains the descriptor tsundere, which is exactly what she is. If you need a refresher, a tsundere consists of a highly combative or aggressive personality on the surface, tsun, with a soft, lovey-dovey center underneath, dere. Unfortunately, we don't really see a whole lot of the dere side, just the tsun side.
It's not like she's low C or anything.
Sometimes you gotta pop out and show niggas. Certified boogeyman.
Odoka's name is a play on words with odokashi, which means intimidating or scary. Totally fits her design. Shizuka means quiet, which matches her personality of not really speaking to anyone. Odoka is actually one of the few people to have previously appeared in year 1, when Komi and Tadano visited a haunted house during their first year culture festival. Odoka is so worried about scaring Komi that she misses her chance entirely until the second year when Najimi stages a test of courage.
Woo, C tier, woo, imagine a ghost is flying around, woo.
Forecasting my future, this is the future.
Urana is similar to uranai, which means fortune telling, while Supili is basically the same thing as spirit. Her bit is that she does fortunes and talismans and a bunch of other stuff related to divination.
Wait, hold. I'm getting something. A vision. It's just a single letter. D. I'm not really a fan of that whole astrology divination thing. Sorry.
Kingyo means goldfish. That's right. Her head looks like a goldfish. That's right. In addition, there's a Japanese phrase called Kingyo no fun, which means goldfish poop. That's right. It's an idiom meaning someone who is only a follower and never has any thoughts of their own. That's right. Jesus Christ, will you shut the fuck up for 1 second? Baba's trademark is that she says that's right after everything someone says. The one exception is when the rest of the class pushes Baba to get Komi's contact info. Can't do that.
I'd love to rate Baba higher because I genuinely think it's a funny bit within the manga, but like Gekidon, I think I'd get annoyed if it was happening in real life. Especially because all she does is say, "Das right." D tier. For das right.
You living in a world that come with plan B, cause plan A never relay a guarantee.
Kichomen means meticulous. Everything he does, he takes to the extreme. To get Komi's info, he wrote his own contact info on a single grain of rice and left it on her table with a magnifying glass. Of course, the rice gets blown away before Komi can see it.
I think I'd relate to him, even though I lack the follow through he has. C tier.
How many stocks do I really have in stock? 1, 2, 3, 4.
All of these dudes have names that include numbers. Ichi no se, ni no mai, santori, and shishima. They act like a unit, but don't actually seem that motivated to do anything but play video games.
A lack of info about him leaves me no choice but to put him in C.
Oops, accident.
Doji means clumsy. She's clumsy. That's literally it. The author didn't even give us a second name or a second appearance.
D tier. I'm worried just talking about her is gonna make things break. Like that.
Ashitano Jo, later renamed to Moe for what I can only assume is copyright reasons, is a reference to Ashita no Jo, a classic boxing manga. It's perhaps most iconic for its final panel, where the main character slumps in the corner of a boxing ring after a fight, most likely dead. Moe is a pun on moreru, which means burn. Ashitano's quirk is that she burns out even doing the simplest of tasks. And when she does, she has that same iconic pose. It's very funny every single time.
C tier. Like I've said multiple times already, it's a really funny gag in the manga, but if this was real life, she would just look incredibly lazy.
This is vintage from 1980
Hafuri's name requires a little bit of Japanese history to explain. The manga describes her as bubbly, but in this context, it's more than just having a high-spirited personality. In the late 1980s, the Japanese economy was in a bubble. There was a lot of flaunting of wealth, excessive spending, and over-the-top fashion. Obviously, the economy today is nothing like this. The kanji for Hafuri means celebrate or congratulate. With that info in mind, along with her one-length hair and pager, you could easily infer that Hafuri is celebrating the bubble era. The wiki, for some reason, has a second name listed, Sadai, although looking at the raw Japanese version in her very few appearances, I don't see any record of it. If it is somehow legit, Sadai means generation or era, which only feeds into the idea of celebrating an old or lost era even further.
Being mentally stuck in the 80s is pretty cringe, to be honest. It gives a whole born in the wrong generation vibe that I really don't like. I mean, just use a goddamn smartphone. What's wrong with you? D tier. And now, the final new friend in this friend slurry.
Never fade away, I'll never fade away.
Kuroko is a name for a stagehand who usually dresses in black and isn't meant to be seen by the audience. Usui means thin or hard to perceive. both of his names imply a lack of presence. While all the other classmates are signing Komi's friend book at the end of year 2, Usui laments about being the unseen classmate and how the author has probably forgotten about him altogether. Considering he literally only appeared in one panel before this chapter, he's probably right. As Usui accepts his role as a background character and begins to literally fade from existence, Komi interrupts to ask him for his name. To his surprise, everyone praises Usui for helping out behind the scenes, and for the first time, he actually feels seen.
What a happy ending for... what was his name again? Who cares? He was probably a C anyway. So what can this new batch of friends teach us about making our own?
Well, first, it's important to communicate your feelings. If Manbagi and Komi hadn't talked about their shared feelings for Tadano and one of them confessed without the other's knowledge, I doubt they would still be on good terms. Secondly, friends come in all shapes and sizes. In Komi's case, this is more literal, but in a more general sense, people are unique. A lot of the friendships that Komi made, like Rei, Asagi, or Anchi, took longer to develop because Komi had to learn their personalities and adjust her strategy accordingly. And finally, just because you don't speak with friends frequently doesn't mean that they're not your friend. Many of this year's crop of friends, like Mila or the rush of year 2 classmates at the end, only had 1 or 2 interactions with Komi in total, but they continue to be friendly with her in year 3. It doesn't really matter how long it's been since you've last hung out, as long as you're friendly with each other when you do.
Actually, now that I think about it, there's a lot of friends from high school I haven't met up with in a while. Wonder how they're doing. Man, you have friends in high school. That's... I honestly, he never mentioned them, and I always thought he was a loner, but, you know, it's because it was before my time or whatever. Crazy. Oh, right, the tier list. Here you go. Yeah, I mean, looking at it, it's... I'm sorry, I'm just caught up in his high school friend. Like, it must have been such a... He never talks about it. It must have been such a different time for him. Like, you ever think about how, like, time works? Like how the now is only, like, for an instant? And, like, if you say now, like, the time it takes you to say now is, like, faster than the concept of now? Time is so crazy. Oh, speaking of time, I've been informed that Hunter is done calling his high school friends. I don't know why he did that in the middle of the shoot, to be honest. As cool as it is to learn that he has high school friends, it's kind of rude. But, you know, I'll let you go. I'll let you go. Subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. And, yeah. Man, he had high school friends. You think you know a guy.